Hey guys, what is up? My name is Megan and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I hope you guys are doing well and staying safe, and welcome to today's video, which is basically a list of my anticipated releases from July to December. Now obviously the list gets a little bit weaker as we go into November and December because it's harder to be aware of releases that are still that far away. That being said, I will also mostly be talking about books that are traditionally published because indie published books are usually announced shorter, like a shorter period of time before they are actually published, and it just changes around a lot more. So I'm sticking to mostly traditionally published books, and this book list is really much a mix of like romance, fantasy, thrillers, middle grade, the whole shebang. So there's a little bit of something for everybody, and I'm gonna stop talking now and just get into the month of July. The first book I want to talk about is a romantasy novel, and it is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is the first in a series, and it is blurbed as a mix between Red Queen and the Hunger Games, and essentially follows a main character who lives in this world where there are elite people, and these elite people essentially have powers, and the ordinaries who are just that, ordinary, and they are kind of like separated into like geographically, and our main character is actually an ordinary pretending to be an elite and pretending, I believe, that she is a psychic. However, like, she's been flying under the radar. However, at one point she saves one of the princes of this land's life, and she is thrown in to this, I guess, competition to kind of showcase the elite's powers because she kind of demonstrated how good she was by saving that prince. And our main character actually has no powers, so it's either she's gonna die in that game or it's gonna get messy with the prince who she's starting to have feelings for. And this sounds wonderful. I think that it does really sound like a mix between Red Queen and the Hunger Games, and I'm very hopeful for this one. I think this is adult. I'm crossing my fingers it is, but I don't know, but I do know it's a trilogy, and that comes out on July 6th. The next book I have to talk about is Spire by Jamie Littler. Jamie Littler is the author of the Frostheart trilogy, and this is a middle grade novel, the first in, I believe, a series, and that one also comes out, I think, the 6th or 7th of July. I think it's the 7th because it comes out in the UK first, and this essentially follows Spire, which is a magical city. It's full of like magic and power, and it essentially has 5 arcanists who are like powerful magicians. Now our main character at the beginning of this book sort of, I think, not by purpose, damages or breaks or like makes a stolen relic kind of explode, and from that comes a creature named Cinder, and Cinder bonds to our main character. Lo and behold, this creature is actually kind of not on so great terms with the 5 magicians who are in charge, I guess, of this world. And so our main character has their attention real quick, and basically it is our main character and her family being thrust into this powerful magical world, and her having to deal with that creature who's bonded to her and the threat that will pose those 5 magicians. It sounds wonderful, full of whimsy. I love Jamie Littler, and I think it's going to be an even better book for me than Frostheart was, which is saying a lot. The next book I have is A Forget Me Not, and this book comes out in the UK, I believe, on the 7th of July as well. This, I'm gonna put a little spoilers here if you have any book boxes, so you can skip ahead, but this is what everybody is predicting the Afterlight July book to be, and it essentially follows a main character who is into wedding planning. Now, she doesn't believe in long-lasting love, but she is in the wedding industry, and when she gets her biggest gig yet, which is to, I guess, plan and help prepare the wedding for this very famous Instagrammer and her husband, she is like over the moon until she learns that the florist for this wedding is none other than her ex. And basically it is going to be them trying to work together and not like have everything go wrong for this wedding, and they're gonna fall back in love. And that sounds absolutely phenomenal. The next book I have on my list comes out on the 13th of July, and that is Swifter Than Starlight by the same author who wrote Wilder Than Midnight, which was another middle grade, and essentially it follows 3 different protagonists that are going to reunite a realm. And all of these books within this like companion series are kind of very whimsical and fantastical and sound kind of like fairy tales. I have yet to read Wilder Than Midnight. I keep getting these titles mixed up, but I think I'm going to wait until I have both of these and read them back to back because they're kind of companion and kind of go together. But these covers are absolutely beautiful, and Carrie Burnell, which is the author of these books, is very well renowned within the middle grade world, so very excited for this. The next book I have is Love Me Do by Lindsay Elk, which is a very well-known romance author, and this book follows a main character who I believe writes greeting cards, and she's like good at like writing romantic kind of cute lines here and there, and basically she gets herself to, where does she go? Hollywood Hills, and there she has her neighbor, and she can't resist playing matchmaker for him because that's what she does. She's good with romance. And so she embarks, I guess, on this journey to find him someone, but during that she kind of realizes that like he's actually hot and he's actually a suitable person, and I guess she ends up falling in love with him while trying to matchmake him with someone else. It sounds adorable, and I feel like a lot of people are excited about this release, and the cover is great. It's going to be my first Lindsay Elk because this is the synopsis that sounds the most appealing to me, but if I love her work I will definitely be going back because she has a pretty significant backlist at this point. The next book I have also releases on July 20th, and that is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This is like the first Lisa Jewell book that sounds really intriguing to me because it has a podcasting element, and basically it follows a main character who is out at a pub celebrating her 45th birthday, and then this other woman shows up and she's like, it's also my 45th birthday. They start having a chat, and our main character is told by this other woman that she would be like the perfect person for her podcast because she's like on the verge of making really big changes to her life. I don't really know what kind of podcast our main character has. I don't really know. But then our main character realizes that this other woman has some very deep and dark secrets, and I guess she gets intertwined in that person's life, and it sounds messy, thrilling, and fun, and any book with a podcasting element is one I want to read. So I'm incredibly excited for this one, and I feel like it's going to be a 5-star for me. The last book I have for July comes out on the 27th, and it is Their Vicious Games, and this is said to be kind of a blend between The Hunger Games and Karen A. McManus. This is a young adult thriller, and it follows a main character who goes to this very prestigious school. I believe she's there on scholarship because she's very alone and outcast. She doesn't have the power, the fame, or the money that the other students and their family do. And she is said to get into a fight with a former friend, and basically she loses her scholarship to a very prestigious college that she was going to attend, and her life kind of flips upside down because now she has lost everything she's dreamed of, until she is invited to the Finish, which is annual games for like, I guess, people in the rich community, and it's basically just a bunch of very famous host families that do these games, and the prize of the Finish is essentially everything our main character would need to get back on track to live the life of her dreams. But then shit starts going awry, and is essentially like the Squid Games where people take part in games and die, and our main character needs to kind of survive this. It sounds messy, complicated, wonderful. So incredibly hyped for this one. The first book I have for August releases on August 1st, and it is The Roommate Pack, and it essentially is an adult romance that follows an ER nurse and a firefighter who I believe are roommates, and none of them have been like getting into serious relationships, and so they say that if they're 40 and they still haven't found like the love of their lives, they're going to be friends with benefits. And I guess our firefighter gets injured. They start spending more time together because our main female character is a nurse. She's taking care of him, and the friends with benefits kind of starts early, and I guess they fall in love, and it sounds absolutely wonderful. I know a lot of people are excited for this one, as am I. The next one comes out on August 3rd, and it is Just Another Missing Person. This is a thriller. I'm not sure it has the same release date in the US. Again, I'm going off the UK dates. This one follows a main character who is a detective, and at the beginning of this book, a young girl named Olivia, who was 22, was seen going in an alley and never comes back out, and our main character is the lead detective on this case, and I think she's used to like death and like kidnappings and all those kinds of things, and she kind of expects what is going to happen with this case. Plot twist, she receives some information about someone who knows her deepest secrets, and this person tells our main character that her family's safety depends on her not figuring out who killed Olivia and framing someone else. If not, shit will spiral, I guess. And so it's going to be the ethical dilemma of what would you do? Because I mean, like, framing someone else for murder is a pretty big deal. So I'm assuming that secret is pretty big as well. So incredibly excited for this one. This is by the same author of that other thriller book, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, that everybody loved. I do not care for that one, but I'm very excited for this. The next one also comes out on the 3rd, and it is Mysteries at Sea, Peril on the Atlantic. This is a first and I think a middle grade series, and essentially follows a main character who is living in 1936, and she is going off on a boat adventure with her father for the entirety of the summer, which she's very much looking forward to. And I think her father is implicated in this kind of race, which he's very focused on, but our main character witnesses something, and I guess she, along with some friends on the boat, are going to try to solve that mystery. This is explained to be kind of like Adventures on Train, but on boats, and like a historical fiction kind of vibe because it's 1936. It sounds wonderful. So freaking wonderful. I am so incredibly excited for this one. I know I'm going to love it. Then on the 31st of August, we have Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is, I guess, a spin-off of the Inheritance games. I still need to read that last book, but I'm so afraid for my life and my feelings that I still haven't. So I haven't really peeked into what the synopses for the third one, like the new one, is because I haven't finished the last series and I'm afraid it's going to spoil something. But just know that that book is coming out and everybody and their mom is excited about it. And the final book for August is also on the 31st, and it is Read, Scream, Repeat, which is a middle grade anthology that has a bunch of different spooky stories. So if you're looking for a bind up of stories to read for October or spooky times, this is definitely it. I am a very easily scared person, so I think this is going to be the perfect balance of wanting to read spooky stories without actually being so incredibly frightened. So if you're like me and you enjoy middle grade spooky vibes, this one sounds really fun. The first book I think comes out actually at the end of August in the US and maybe at the beginning of September in the UK, so don't quote me on that because Amazon says August 29th for the Canada and US, and that is Assistant to the Villain. Listen, you guys, I have been anticipating the book for literal years because I follow the author of this book on TikTok, and I have been on the journey of her crafting the entirety of this book, and I am so obsessed. And this is published by the same publishing house that did Fourth Wing, and so this one has exclusive red editions for the first print of this. And basically this is a romance novel between a villain and his assistant. So basically we have this villain in this world who was like all big and mighty, and he's looking for an assistant, and after some kind of mishap, our main character is offered the job. She takes it and she starts kind of swooning for this villain, and I guess that's going to be a love story between them. But there is also someone who is out to sabotage this villain, and our main character takes it upon herself to find out who and make them pay, all while swooning for her villain boss. And if you like the villain trope, or like when the main character goes for the villain, this is going to be for you, and I have incredibly high hopes that this will deliver, and if it doesn't, you'll have to excuse me while I sob. Then we have What You Are Looking For Is in the Library, and again, this is one I am so incredibly excited about. This is a translated work, and it very much reminds me of The Midnight Library, which I know was not for everyone, but if you're like me and loved it, this is for you. It essentially follows a main character who is a librarian, and she has the power to know what people are looking for, and I feel like she can sense it, or she has some magical ability, and she basically gives them recommendations based off that. So she gives them book recommendations for what she feels they need. And it sounds wonderful. It's basically about the connection of libraries and the world, and it's whimsical, and it sounds beautiful, and I hope I love it. I really hope I love it. Also, it has a cat on the cover, so like 10 million points for that. The next book I'm excited about is Infinity's Secret. This is by Katie and Kevin Sang, and this is a spin-off series to the Dragon Realm. So if you guys enjoyed that middle grade series about dragons, and it is set, I know the first one is set in a camp in China, and it has to do with dragons. If you enjoyed that one, the spin-off series is coming out, and the first book is releasing on the 14th of September, and Waterstones has beautiful exclusive editions of this one, as they do for some of the other books I've mentioned, so look out for that if you are interested in having beautiful sprayed edges. The next book comes out again on the 14th of September and is another middle grade that has to do with dragons, and I'm so excited for it. It is Impossible Creatures by Catherine Rundle. This follows a young boy who lives in the ordinary world until he sees a bunch of dragons and other mystical creatures going down a hill, and I guess, like, I don't know if they're harming people or they're doing their thing. And then he learns that his grandfather is actually the guardian of a realm between our world and a magical world where a bunch of like creatures and dragons and stuff lives. And I guess he learns about this world and maybe partakes in it. Maybe he has powers, who knows? I'm just so excited for this. It sounds absolutely wonderful. I love how we're getting a lot of like dragons and unicorns and that kind of stuff in middle grade and adult fiction. Such a vibe. And again, Waterstone's exclusive edition for this with the stenciled edges. Chef's kiss. Then two books I want to talk about very quickly, because if I talk about them too much it's going to spoil them. One is Pages & Co. The Final Book Wanderer, which is the 6th and final book in Anna James' Pages & Co. series. The first 3 books follow Tilly, who is a main character who lives in a bookshop with her grandparents. Her mother has gone missing. In the first book, Tilly goes on a quest to find her mother, but also learns about her magical abilities, which include being able to go into books and bring characters out from books. The whole series goes from there. It is absolutely fantastic. You should read it. And the other book is Percy Jackson number 6. This is set between the Heroes of Olympus but before the Trials of Apollo. If I'm not mistaken, it is basically, I think, Percy trying to go off to college. Again, Waterstones, exclusive editions for that one. You will not want to miss it. It is beautiful. Beautiful. And I feel like Percy Jackson is a classic. Everybody needs to read it. In October, I have 3 books I want to talk about. 2 of them released on the same day. The first one is Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. It comes out on October 3rd. It is the first book in, I guess, a spin-off series from the Kingdom of the Wicked, where we follow Envy, who is another one of the 7 Princes of Hell. This is like a historical romantasy series, and you either love it or you hate it. I will be Carrie Maniscalco trash until the day I die, so I have pre-ordered the Waterstones exclusive of this one, because all the UK editions will have that beautiful hardback foiling, and this one also has sprayed edges. I don't know if the US is getting anything special, but yeah, it is coming out. Oh yeah, the US has the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition that you can look out for as well. The next book that comes out on October 3rd is the 3rd secret project from Brandon Sanderson, which is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. This one is the one I'm most excited about within all his secret projects, because it follows Yumi, who lives in a world of guarded meditations and spirits, and Painter, who comes from a world of technology and darkness and nightmares, and their lives intertwined. I don't want to know more about it. It sounds freaking remarkable. So I have pre-ordered it, and I'm very much hoping I love this, because Brandon Sanderson really knows how to write, and I feel like this is his time to shine. The last book for October is actually a graphic novel, and it is If You'll Have Me, and this is by Uni, and this is basically a queer meet cute, and it is very much endorsed by Alice Oseman, which we can see why. And this follows Momo and PG, and Momo is very sensitive, will always help other people. She's very kind of like keeps to herself, a little bit shy, and PG is kind of like the opposite. She's a lone wolf and has kind of like darker vibes, and they have a meet cute, and obviously they are 2 very different people, but they fall in love, I think, and it sounds so cute. The illustrations look beautiful from what I can see as well. I feel like I've been talking for ages. I'm so sorry. Now, November. The first book to release in November that I'm super excited about is The Ice Children, which is from one of the authors of The Adventures on Trade, which I mentioned before, and this I think has already released in the US as a Kindle or audio version. It follows a girl whose little brother in December is found at the stroke of midnight frozen in ice, and the doctor says his heart is still beating, but I guess that he's like frozen and cannot move, and other children start to get frozen as well, and our main character is basically the older sister of that first boy who got turned into ice, and she takes it upon herself to figure out what is happening. It sounds like a wonderful mystery and all the cold vibes, which I'm thinking will be great for that time of year. The next one is Check Animate by Ali Hazelwood, which comes out on November 7th. This one is a YA book, and it is about this girl who basically is done with playing chess, and she just doesn't want to do it anymore until she inadvertently kind of signs up for this like community chess event, and she basically kicks ass and beats this boy who is very well known in the chess world, and he doesn't understand where this loss has come from. And basically I think that the money she wins is enough to kind of get her to continue to play chess, and they will keep crossing paths because they are basically like two very strong forces in the chess community, and so it's a hate to love while both of them play chess. She goes up the ranks, starts to love chess again. It sounds like a wonderful time, and it's Ali Hazelwood, so can anything go wrong? I don't think it can. Also, I'm excited to see how Ali Hazelwood does YA versus adult romance. Then a book everybody and their mom is waiting for is Iron Flame. This is the sequel to Fourth Wing, and I have Fourth Wing. I still haven't read it, but I know everybody is excited about it, so I wanted to mention it here. Waterstones had for like a day exclusive editions, and then everybody bought them already, so keep an eye out for that if they ever do restock. And yeah, I feel like this is going to take up the internet by storm in November when this sequel releases, the way Fourth Wing just took over the internet when it released. And the last book I have for November is Heartstopper Volume 5, which comes out on November 9th, I think. And this one was supposed to be the last one, but there will be 6 volumes, and this follows Nick and Charlie. It is a LGBTQ plus graphic novel series. It has become a show. Everybody knows Alice Oseman and Heartstopper by this point, so keep your eye out for Volume 5, which releases very soon. It comes out in November. It's coming out this year at least. And in December we have Raiders of the Lost Heart, which comes out on December 5th. This is like an Indiana Jones archaeologist romance. It is traditionally published, and I feel like we haven't had some serious hype for traditionally published romances aside from the big names like Ali Hazelwood in a long time, but everybody seems to be really loving it, from the people who have arcs, and just everybody seems to be on the bandwagon. The cover is beautiful, and who doesn't love an Indiana Jones style romance? I for one think this one will be great. And the last official one on my list is Bloodguard by CC Robson. This is also being published by the same publishing house as was Fourth Wing. This one also has exclusive editions on, like, exclusive sprayed pages on the first printing, and this is Gladiator meets Dungeons and Dragons in a new adult fantasy romance series. And it says, where one man must fight to become the next Bloodguard if he hopes to save his family and his new love. I think this is not a debut book because it says that CC Robinson is already known within the writing and publishing world, so we're hoping for some good stuff with this one, and the cover is also stunning. Quickly, I also wanted to mention, for those of you who don't know, that the Daughter of the Pirate King, Daughter of the Siren Queen series by Trisha Livenseller has gotten new hardcover books, and they are absolutely stunning, and they have sprayed edges as well. And that the third book in this series, which is kind of like a spin-off following a different character, is also coming out at the end of this year, I believe in November. So if you guys really enjoyed that series and want some updated cover, they look gorgeous. I have pre-ordered all of mine, and I cannot wait for them to come in. The first one I think has already been published. The second is coming out rebranded at the end of July, and the third one, as I said, comes out in November. So that was my very obnoxious list. I hope it helps some of you guys, and that you guys are as hyped as me for all the releases coming out in the latter half of this year. If I have missed any you think I would enjoy, please leave them in the comments below, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye guys, happy reading.